Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the NCTTA, National Collegiate Table Tennis Association National Championships 2015 here in Eau Claire, Minneapolis. I'm Adam Bobrow, and alongside me is the great Han Xiao. How you doing, Han?
I'm good, thank you.
You're welcome. Exciting match ahead of us. We get to see last year's national champion, Cheng with his teammate Zhang Tong from Mississippi College, playing the Texas Wesleyan University Beasts that just took out the 2013 national champions from USC. It's Emil Santos and Juddy Bai. So you were telling me a little bit about the more mysterious, the less seen player on the tour, Zhang Tong. What were you saying about his game?
Yeah, Zhang Tong's relatively new. I believe he's new at Mississippi College just this year. A lot of people haven't really seen him play. I did manage to see him play at the Kerry Cup not too long ago. Really strong forehand player, typical of Chinese provincial team type level players. On the backhand side, he's pretty steady, but for the most part, he's a blocker. So you're not going to see a lot of backhand rips from this guy off the opening or even the rally. So in doubles, it shouldn't make too much of a difference. He should be able to cover most of the table with his forehand. And since Cheng is a lefty, they have the lefty-righty combination. You'll see a lot of forehand play from them. So not too much of a factor in doubles, but he's really a one-wing player, Zhang Tong.
Interesting. So you coached against Zhang Tong, right?
Yeah, I had a couple of my teammates actually played against Zhang Tong in that tournament, so I managed to see him up close and personal. Texas Wesleyan, I would say that since the teams are so evenly matched, it's going to be very tactical. The key against Zhang Tong is going to be to move him wide to the forehand and then to pin him on the backhand corner, which in doubles is actually very difficult because he has a shot in between to recover. But with the right placement, you can still get him to play backhands.
And Cheng Li, I thought I remembered him being a right-handed player.
Oh, I must have misremembered. I get
some
all the
reason.
players mixed up. But yeah, okay. So
Right.
so it is going to be more of a factor than I thought.
And the interesting thing, if I remember correctly, which, he definitely made an impression on me, Cheng Li, the big player, looks like a linebacker out there. Big upper body, strong masculine head, is standing out there. He looks like someone who might be a little bit slower on his feet, but he floats through the court and is able to get to just about everything.
Yeah, he's really deceptively quick too, because it doesn't seem like he's moving, and then all of a sudden he gets to the ball, a little bit like Eugene Wong from Canada.
Right.
It doesn't seem like he's going to get there, and then somehow either he has long arms or something, he's just reaching every ball that you try to put him on the wide forehand, you're like, oh, I just hit a winner. Nope, ball's coming back.
And I think part of it at that level, the anticipation of these players, it's like they've started just a break or two earlier than other players at this competition, so they're where they need to be a little bit before it appears that they will.
So one big thing to watch is, I believe Cheng Li and Zhang Tong, both those players don't have extremely strong backhands, and so it's really going to come down to how well they rotate and how well they move. I think Santos and Juddy Bai really have an advantage on the backhand corner.
Now, as far as movement, you were telling us about the backhand being more of a blocking game from Zhang Tong. He looks like a pretty fast guy. He's slim, seems fit. How does he do turning the corner to get his forehand into play?
He's very good from the backhand corner. So most forehand dominant players are very good stepping around because they try to use their backhand as little as possible. But if you move Zhang Tong wide out to the forehand and then bring him back to the backhand corner, that becomes a problem because it's very difficult to turn the corner after you've just been wide on your forehand. Even in doubles, when your partner is hitting in front of you, it's still very tough to turn the corner after you've just been wide to your forehand. So a lot of it is going to come down to the tactics that Texas Wesleyan plays and whether they let him just camp from the backhand corner or not.
So we've got two of the strongest players from the Texas Wesleyan University team out here, and they're facing two of the strongest players from the Mississippi College team, and Mississippi has been one of the greatest threats to Texas Wesleyan in recent years, been able to bring in some top talent from overseas, so this should be an exciting showdown.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't talked a lot about the Texas Wesleyan team yet, but both of these are very strong players. Emil Santos, extremely strong singles player in the college ranks, really strong all-around game. And Juddy Bai, we've seen make great improvement, especially last year at these championships. On paper, it's really hard to favor either of these teams. They're really evenly matched, all extremely strong players, at least in singles.
And that's the first point for Mississippi College. So far, every point's been won on a serve. That's that step around shot, the forehand from the backhand corner. Man, like a leapfrog, quick to get there.
Yeah, Zhang Tong's forehand is really difficult to deal with, really hard to tell the direction.
Juddy Bai with a strong counter there. Cheng Li keeping it nice and low over the net, but still, Juddy Bai, just like practice, no problem.
And Juddy Bai is one of the few players that I've seen just make massive improvement after, starting college.
Right.
Remember his first year at Texas Wesleyan, is decent player for the college ranks, but wasn't really threatening the top players in the singles event. And then last year just made a massive leap. Really strong showing at the Collegiate Nationals. I was really impressed personally by his play.
And there's something to be said there. Most players come to college, like you said, and they lose their training. They focus on college. But with all the different programs developing in collegiate table tennis, Texas Wesleyan's been around for quite some time. Mississippi showing development, Lindenwood popping up. There are opportunities for players to come to college and actually bring their level up.
No, absolutely, especially as the depth of players improves. They're having better and better training partners. Looks like the players have selected a new ball. Now they are using 40-plus balls here, and some of the players have noted that sometimes the balls are a little bit inconsistent, so a little bit picky. You want to pick the right ball as round as possible, and then hope it doesn't break in the middle of the match. We've seen that in international competition as well.
Mississippi displaying soft touch, able to keep it low and close to the net as well. Shutting down the Juddy Bai forehand attack from a little shorter on the backhand side. It's a strong backhand from Cheng Li, but out of position and deep in the court. Zhang Tong having some trouble, almost pulling a Tebow, falling to a knee, taking that shot.
Not the strongest backhand player, as we mentioned before. Cheng Li can kind of hold his own on the backhand corner. Zhang Tong really needs to get his forehand in. Warning of Zhang Tong's backhand serve.
It's tough to tell if it was about the height of the toss.
I believe it was the height of the toss.
We'll see it again and see how he reacts to getting some criticism. No problem.
Umpire Jorge Venegas just making sure that players are serving legally. Just a warning that time, no fault.
And he's been with the program for a long time, volunteering, helping out NCTTA.
Yeah.
Great guy. Well-placed serve, banana flip to modern backhand receive from over the table. Some trouble for Cheng Li.
That receive is not easy off a flat serve like that. You need some side spin to make it an easy shot.
Just a beautiful point. Counter loops on the run at full extension. Zhang Tong and all players out there running cross-court loops. And that's the beauty of this level of play, is that when you hit a shot that hard, you know it might come back and the point could continue, and does for several shots. And then following along, very attractive rally, a quick short point there. Still it's a 1-point game. Placement of serve kicking into the body caught Juddy Bai off guard. You could see a quick sort of attempt to get back in there, take a forced forehand from in at the body.
And if you had to pick one player who's a somewhat weaker link in this match, it would be Juddy Bai. Last 3 points, he's been a little bit slow on the footwork. We saw 1 in the rally and 2 on the service return, just not quite ready.
Touch shot from down low and some trouble there.
Good return, but if you just watch Juddy Bai's footwork during the point, it just seems a little bit, he's just kind of standing around waiting for the ball to come to him, which is a big no-no in doubles. You always have to keep moving, finding the good position to stand in, not let yourself get caught out of position.
Astute observation, both shots, you called it. I mean, if you're watching Juddy Bai, his footwork is definitely the slowest out there. And
he's just sitting in the forehand corner. He's supposed to be. What you're supposed to do is rotate back around your partner so you can hit a forehand. When you're in the rally, especially as a pen holder, is extremely important. And he's just kind of camped out on the forehand corner.
USC had a very difficult time finding this weakness in the game of Juddy Bai and Emil Santos as a team. But
it takes great placement in order to really take advantage of it and good awareness of what's going on the court. And players from China tend to be, well schooled in this sort of art.
That one was put away with no chance of return. Just left Zhang Tong scratching his head standing there.
Yeah, that's Juddy Bai's strength. So it's really going to be up to Emil Santos to set up his teammate for those types of shots, not expose the weaknesses in their game.
Bit of a break off the top of the net, and it's a 1-point lead for Mississippi College in the deep end of game 1. Again, this is a best of 5 semifinals for men's doubles. Santos, let's see if he does the hair slick back serve. He does. Good look at that ball. Zhang had an opening cross court. Santos there for the counter if he needs to.
And Zhang is much worse on anything from the forehand corner. Ironically, for a player with such a better forehand than backhand, anything from the forehand corner he tends to be a little bit weaker at. And that's something to watch, whether Texas Wesleyan tries to make him start from the forehand corner rather than from the backhand corner.
And I think that also can come from, players anticipating having to make the move to run around and earn the shot. Well placed, even though Juddy Bai was a good probably 6 feet behind the table, was jammed right in the body. And as a pen holder too, the crossover isn't even there as much. But
again, why is he standing on the forehand corner? He's nowhere near the backhand corner where he's supposed to be. If he were in position, he'd have a much easier shot there.
Big break for Texas Wesleyan. It wouldn't surprise me if Keith Evans, the coach for Texas Wesleyan, has the same observation that you've made. I think that is going to be crucial for their success throughout this match. Juddy Bai's footwork and setting up his forehand.
And we know he can make the shots as long as he's there.
Push escapes Santos a little bit, goes for the deep long push into the backhand court.
It was a good thought, which is what his teammate is trying to point out to him. It wasn't the wrong shot, just a little bit lacking in the execution.
Heavy spin shot deep on the table is countered out, and Cheng Li and Zhang Tong take game 1 12-10 over the Texas Wesleyan pair.
It was a great first game. Lots of excitement, went right down to the wire. Very tactical. And really a lot of that first game was rallies lost by Texas Wesleyan off of Juddy Bai's sort of positioning during the point. As soon as we progress from the first 3 balls of the rally, he's often caught on the forehand corner, not moving back around to neutral position. So let's see if that's something that Keith Evans, the Texas Wesleyan coach, points out to him, whether it's something he can correct. It's very difficult. It's something that you really acquire through training. It's very difficult to consciously be doing it during the point, so a really difficult adjustment to make.
And we're going to have to wonder, as a right-handed team, serving to set up the forehand shot, we don't see Juddy Bai serving a lot from the backhand. A lot of shake-hand players are setting up their backhand serves a little bit more so.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out. The Mississippi coach looks familiar as someone who played in the finals last year in the men's singles.
It's Zhang.
And he's incredible. So we'll see how his experience as a coach helps out the Mississippi College team. Despite being up 1-0, they know they're going to have to face a very tough battle in this best of 5 coming out right here in game 2.
Yeah, something interesting to note is the difference in equipment. Even though we have 2 Chinese players playing for Mississippi College, Cheng Li, something that he's using red on his forehand, which really means that he's not using Hurricane, which is really strange for a Chinese player. I think he's probably switched over after coming to the U.S. because most of the Chinese players you see will be using Chinese rubber on the forehand, which is for various reasons, almost always black.
Yeah, I was going to ask you why that is. I mean, we only see black forehands typically, and then red Tenergy on the backhand or something.
I believe it's a result of the production process. It actually has different playing characteristics, some of the Chinese rubbers, depending on the color. And so the black is preferred for many of those brands because of the playing characteristics of the rubber. So Cheng Li obviously using some other, he's not using Chinese rubber on the forehand, but still able to get a lot of spin on that forehand loop. So definitely very impressive. And some players, when they do come over to the United States, do switch over just either for convenience or because they can't get the provincial or national team Hurricane anymore.
Right, the production quality, the sheets that are delivered to the top players are different than what you can purchase.
It's like getting custom equipment from the manufacturer.
Right.
For some sponsored players, sort of the same deal.
And it's interesting, Timo Boll actually said the opposite about his contract, despite being for years the top butterfly player, and that his Tenergy is the same as everything else you can buy.
It's a really different model. Some players in China really believe in the custom-made equipment. They'll get custom equipment from their sponsors other than, their forehands, which are mostly Chinese rubber. They'll get custom rubber on their backhand as well. So it's really interesting. I'd like to learn more and more about equipment because it's really interesting what the top players use. But
when you say custom rubber, do you mean just the best quality sheets from the manufacturer?
Yeah, it's usually a selection process.
And that was complete trickery and deception. Zhang Tong fooled so much, the highest ball we've seen on a receive probably all day so far. Jedi Bai able to put it away with a smash down the line. Han, I think that's my first time seeing your wedding ring.
Yeah, probably. It's
blinging, man. It's huge.
It's been a while, but
your woman really wants people to know that you are not up for taking here.
Wedding rings, so.
Oh, you guys are both insecure. No, that's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So a 5-3 lead for Mississippi College. Jedi Bai on the receive. Santos a little slow to get around that ball. Well placed deep into the backhand corner. It seemed like he had his mind set on setting up that forehand attack from the backhand corner.
Santos seems a little tight to me. I don't think he's fully gotten into the match because the times when I've watched him before, he's much more aggressive in his play, and so far we haven't seen a lot of that yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And right there, Jedi Bai falling back a little bit off balance, taking the counter loop well placed right at his elbow.
And to Mississippi College's credit, they're really winning the short game, not giving Santos and Jedi Bai a lot of opportunities to just tee off on the first ball.
And Texas Wesleyan historically has been the China of collegiate table tennis.
This is really showing the depth that we have, not only from the junior ranks coming up. We saw Michael Landers play before as a great example of that, but also from these imported international players, which Mississippi College and Texas Wesleyan both kind of embody that.
Yeah. So at the second towel break, it's a 4-point lead for Mississippi College. And you said it, Emil Santos, despite his size, I mean, he's bigger than many table tennis players, a thick player, strong. He does tend to be very light, quick, and yeah, he does seem to be a bit tightened up, and the pressure could be getting to him.
And he's really a do-it-all kind of player. It's hard to pinpoint a weakness in his game. He does everything pretty well.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a fun player to watch. But if he's able to loosen up some, I think Texas Wesleyan will stand a much better chance in the rally because he can really catch fire. I watched him play. Here's a timeout. Kind of a strange timing. I can understand it, but
this is a timeout called from Keith Evans, or is it?
I believe it's the Mississippi College.
It is Mississippi.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's a little bit. They really want to lock down the 2-0 lead.
Right.
Anyway, I was just saying. I remember watching Emil Santos play Jimmy Butler one time, and even though both are really good players, it probably was a match where Emil just completely caught fire and was just all over the court, and it was just ridiculous. So I've seen what he can do, which is why I'm thinking he's a little bit tight in this match, because I just haven't seen that Emil Santos yet so far this tournament.
Well, there's not a whole lot of time, much like the coach of Mississippi College felt on calling the timeout after just one game of play. Santos is going to have to find the inner Emil, the Emil that unleashed the beast on Jimmy Butler.
Granted, it was Jimmy's, I believe it was Jimmy just coming back into the sport, but still, it's a very impressive win.
Yeah.
So it's
Jimmy Butler, a current national men's champion for the United States at the age of 43, I believe.
Story. 43 or 44, one of the two.
Over Kunal Chaudhary was 15 during that match.
Yeah.
What a crazy world. 2 bounces on the table and a quick yes. Texas Wesleyan with the touch shots to get back in this.
And to their credit, they haven't won a lot of rallies, and they always seem to be on the back foot, but they're staying in these games with these sort of, cheap points, smart points.
That's a bigger forehand, really wrapping it in, playing the short side of the table. Jetty by. It takes a lot of core strength, as you can see, ripping through his shirt. Look at those abs.
You think they designed that shirt like that on purpose?
Complete coincidence. Didn't even notice it. And after the timeout from Mississippi College, it goes the other way. 3 quick points for Texas Wesleyan.
Such a risky timeout because everything was kind of going your way. You lost 1 point at 8-4.
Right, just one.
But
you can see the body language a little different from the Mississippi players.
Yeah. And sometimes calling a timeout like that your players don't necessarily agree with. They respect your coaching, so they're going to take the timeout. They're not going to wave it off, but at the same time, it can inspire a little bit of what are we doing?
Right,
type
psychologically.
And really change the psychology of the players sometimes.
Absolutely. I can think of one very specific example. The Barney Reed timeout. Yep, you knew what I was talking about.
At Olympic trials.
At Olympic trials.
Huge match.
Huge match. And
I believe it was against Timothy Wong, right?
Right, and I think
Winner
Barney Reed was up,
Olympics.
and it was early in the match, and Barney Reed Sr. had some words he thought would really inspire his son, I guess, and it was questionable if Barney Reed Jr. was expecting the timeout or hoping for it.
Texas Wesleyan, 7 straight points to end the game, goes from 4-8 to 11-8.
What a turn. The timeout was there to try and stop the train at the very beginning of its start.
It might have kick-started the train.
That's how it appears, for sure. The only other time I've seen well, not the only other time I've seen, but another memorable time that I've seen the psychology of a player just completely flip the outcome of the match. Junmi Zutani versus Yu Zhang at the Japan Open Finals, when the call went against Junmi Zutani. You remember Yu Zhang said, "Oh, that hit the edge of the table?"
Yep.
And then from that point on, the argument didn't go in favor of Junmi Zutani, and he just crumbled. So sports psychology, I mean, the focus of every shot out here, it's just, a game of millimeters. Someone makes a ball of 40 plus, and everyone has to go into the caves and start training for weeks and weeks just to learn how to adapt. So you can imagine, when you're not psychologically in it, how much more work it takes for you to recover as a team. And now it's tied up at 1 game each.
Especially at such a high level where if you make a poor return off a short ball, it could be that the point's over. The opponent's not going to miss the attack. They're going to put you in a bad position. Even if you make that one return, the point's pretty much in the bag for the other team. And so if you're not focused, especially at the beginning of these points, we saw, for example, right after the timeout, the opponent makes a simple drop shot, and Mississippi College completely caught off guard and ball double bounces for a point. That's never happens. You almost never see that happen.
And speaking of things you almost never see happen, Cheng Li just used a backhand almost chop receive from deep on the table on the forehand side.
He was ready to banana flip and completely got caught by surprise and improvised.
Yeah. One of the best points we've seen this match. Speaking of improvisation, from deep in the backhand court, Zhang Tong starting up the heat. And then the answers, the replies from Texas Wesleyan, strong and spinny as well. These are the types of points that as an audience you really love to see. Just the athletic prowess, the forehand loops from off the table being countered.
That's a poor attempt at a forehand flip kill from Zhang Tong. Not sure what he's trying to do there.
It's the way you crack a piñata. Just a slap shot there.
Really big backswing.
Despite standing up pretty straight for that shot, Jadid Bai kept it nice and close to the net and loaded with spin. So Mississippi back in the driving seat, but now with the serve, it's Texas Wesleyan. From off the table, Zhang able to find the middle. Jadid Bai had some trouble coming through the court.
At Texas Wesleyan, once they get into the rally, they have to find Zhang Tong's backhand. It's the only shot that might be a weak link in the rally.
Right, we were talking about it.
College.
Yeah, before the match started, that was the Achilles heel that you pointed out for Mississippi College, and it doesn't seem to have been exploited enough yet. We've seen a lot of runarounds from Zhang Tong when the attempt, the play to the backhand court is there, but it's going to have to be quicker, or they're going to have to anticipate him turning the corner and then play it down the short side on the forehand, make him hesitate to turn the corner or something.
They've really got to play both of these Mississippi College players wide out to the forehand, kind of have them run into each other, and then pin them back on the backhand side in order to exploit that. Right now, everything's just sort of to the middle of the table. There's no real placement going on. Texas Wesleyan's playing some good short game at times, but overall the placement is not quite as sharp as what Mississippi College is doing.
Right, too many factors out there, and it seems like they're only really completing one or two of the elements of their shot.
Well, there's a much better placement, but unfortunately it looks like a net serve being called. But that's the type of placement that's better. If you're going to go wide to the backhand corner, go wide to the backhand corner. Don't just bring it into the middle of the table. And
right, nothing lukewarm. Be decisive with your shots.
That's some heavy spin on that loop from Santos.
Some strong power coming back from Chung Lee, but like you said, it was the spin that overpowered.
Looks like he misses the hurricane.
Yeah.
That's a type of counter loop that's much easier with the Chinese rubber.
Looked like he could have caused his own hurricane with that racket speed.
And it's not. The main difference between the two is that the Chinese rubbers, because they're tackier and harder, they generate less pace on their own.
Right.
And so, and generate a lot of spin on their own without you trying to. So a lot of those types of counter loop type situations, you can really come over the ball and the ball will just drop right on the table. Whereas a lot of the European and Japanese sponges, the ball really kicks out, generates a lot of speed, but not as much spin.
Right, the physical strength it takes for the Chinese rubber to be used. It's the Chinese conditioning is why they can all use it.
Yeah, it's really difficult to use if you're not used to it. But then it's really hard also, once you've used it, to adapt back to a conventional sponge. Well,
maybe we'll get a chance to chat with Chung Lee later and see when the switch in equipment happened, how long he's had to make his adjustments. Backhand smack shot a little bit high and near the net. Zhang Tong quick to get there. That's not the backhand you were talking about. If you leave it that high and near the net, even a backhandless player is probably going to be able to put it away.
Yeah, you can punch. You can obviously hit a high ball. He can block with the backhand. He just doesn't have a real strong backhand spin, which in this day and age, almost everybody has a backhand spin. It's really a big deficiency in your game if you can't go back into backhand with someone who has a nice over the ball backhand topspin. Like right there. Neil Santos, great backhand loop.
Very spinny. Sort of looked like a bread and butter shot for him, but loaded with spin. Similar shot, but it was played a little bit wider out to his backhand side. Took him off balance, and his shot goes long. 4-point lead for Mississippi College, up 9-5.
Credit to Mississippi College. They've really kept Santos off balance the whole match. He hasn't gotten a lot of those easy openings.
This was a clever play on the receive from Santos. Looked like he was going to go cross court. And I think Chung Lee made a quick decision. Was able to keep it with his backhand and play at a decent pace. And that receive, I mean, we see that from choppers with long pips. The underspin, side spin, sort of dragging the tip of the racket down below the ball, but still the response too strong, and it's 11-5 for Mississippi College to go up 2-1.
Yeah, Texas Wesleyan really looked lost that game. A couple of things they really need to do. One is just keep the game close. You don't want to let Mississippi College run out these large leads because they're using great placement to throw the Texas Wesleyan players off their timing. We see a lot of unforced errors early in the point. You know, put that ball on the table, try to find the backhand, try to play more heavy spin. You don't have to make an amazing, first loop kill. You have your partner to fall back on. And then if you keep the game a little bit close and bring the mental game into effect, who knows what can happen. We've seen Cheng in the past. He's a really solid player. He's playing really well right now. But when the game's close, sometimes he has a tendency to get a little bit tight. And Zhang Tong, I haven't seen him a lot in sort of close game situations, but make him, make some plays under pressure. Don't let them run out to a 4-point lead, a 7-3, 8-4 lead, and just start styling on you, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's that if the Texas Wesleyan players can do that, I think they still have a chance to come back in this match.
Now here's a question: when Jody Bai is serving, what do you think's going to have to change so that they can sort of set up the point a little bit better?
I think he really needs to go for some more unconventional serves. His normal serves just aren't doing the trick. Maybe serve a little just short topspin, try to get into the rally immediately, force a flip, especially, since I believe he'll be serving to Cheng. So Cheng has really nice control inside the table as opposed to a Zhang Tong who we've seen make some really loose returns. Cheng Li's not, he's much better at reading the spin. So if you can force him to just make a medium sort of lukewarm flip and get into a topspin rally, it might be easier for Santos to get into the match that way.
Jody Bai with the backhand, just smack shot there.
And it didn't look too comfortable doing it, but it worked out.
Now one serve that had been quite effective in the match before this was a serve deep to the middle of the table. And if you've got Cheng Li stepping in, preparing to take a backhand from inside the table.
Yeah, and we've seen him do that a lot. He's been guessing, stepping in. We saw him push that one deep serve.
Right. Well-placed receive.
Jody Bai's footwork this match has not been too impressive. We talked about it during the rally there. He's just a little bit lazy on the first step.
That was a fast-placed receive right into the body, though.
Yeah, but players at this level, there's 2 points in a row. The first one doesn't move, doesn't move fully out of the way. You can wait for the ball a little bit, let it drop, make a good opening. You don't have to arch your body all the way back to try to loop. And that one, the ball's a little short and out wide to the right, out wide to his forehand. And again, he's just missing that one step. And it's so odd because we've seen Jody Bai, he makes amazing shots when he's in position and the ball's right there for him. One of the hardest forehands I think we've seen in the tournament, but Mississippi College is constantly putting the ball just a little bit out of his reach and he's just reaching for the ball.
An off-balance shot from Cheng Li, almost falling into the scorekeeper's booth, clipping a little bit off the top of the net. But again, off balance, that's one of the most amazing things to me at this level of play is that some of these players, it's not just you hit it into their sweet spot, it's you hit it almost anywhere and they can find a way to make it similar to their sweet spot, still get the loop into play, and not just into play, but aggressively and well placed like Cheng Li did right there.
And that's an example of someone who knows what they're doing in a doubles match, because in a doubles match, when you're off balance like that, you can jab at the ball, you can reach for the ball a little bit, you can try to make a quality shot on the run because you have time to recover. Whereas in singles, you might just block that ball.
Right, and also in doubles, your responsibility is to set up your teammate with the best positioning they can possibly have.
Yeah, absolutely, that's the most important part.
Break off the back edge there from Zhang.
See Santos shaking his head a little bit. He made a great backhand spin.
And the head shake, we hope, is not a psychological defect right now. Someone who's getting down too much or focused on the break of the ball.
I hope not, because they really need to dig deep right now.
Right, and it's still close, 2-point game.
That's big. As I said before, you want to keep things tight. You want to put pressure on the other team, make them make shots under pressure. Now, timeout for Texas Wesleyan. At this point, it's just a really difficult ask on the players and on the coach, as I feel like there's a lot of frustration. It's a lot of the turnaround is going to have to be mental here.
Right, and I think on timeouts, at the highest level, Dmitry Ovcharov, when asked what was told to you at the World Tour Grand Finals against Jun Mizutani when Jorg Roskopf called the timeout, and Ovcharov said, "I don't remember, but he tried to make me confident. He needed to make me believe that I can win." So the whether it's visualization and inward or outward sort of viewing of what's to come in the future here, just believing that you can do it, going out there with some positivity, gives you, you'll hesitate less when you go for the risky shots. You're just going to be sharper, and you're going to be more likely to make the shots that you need to make under pressure.
And that's where the coach has to know the players. It's hard enough in singles. It might be even more difficult in doubles because you need to know both players and the dynamic.
Right.
If there's one more experienced player, you need to know whether you can leave that experienced player alone and focus on the less experienced player, or whether targeting that younger player is just going to make them nervous. There's so many factors.
Who's going to be the jealous stepchild.
There's so many factors that go into it.
Yeah. Between the players, how you talk to each other, that's right, the personalities and how these players meld and work together is sometimes one of the biggest factors. I think why Justin and Grant were able to take the championship 2 years ago despite the rating differences.
Mississippi College reacting to this timeout a little bit better than the last timeout. Being more focused, trying to put the match away.
Step around, backhand a little punchy, and it's usually the other way around, but of course on the receive, sometimes a lot more common to see a player step around to take the backhand over the table.
Yeah, but Zhang Tong shouldn't,
right.
It shouldn't be a bread and butter play for him because that banana flip requires a lot of spin and a lot of wrist. I don't think Zhang Tong, he doesn't incorporate a lot of that into his singles play, so it's not a shot that he's too familiar with.
Well said. That is just too sharp. He rewards himself verbally right away after that crushing flip shot over the table. No chance for Cheng Li to reach
serve,
that.
But definitely a ballsy sort of return, because especially at this point in the match,
it could go either way. I mean, Jedi Bai and Emil Santos are the chasing team here. It's late in Game 4, and if Mississippi College takes this game, it's over.
Yeah.
Elimination style, Texas Wesleyan, the defeaters of the 2013 National Doubles Champions, will be out of this tournament. Soft touch, ball just barely coming off the back edge, and Santos having some trouble stepping around and spinning it.
The story of the entire match is Mississippi College using the placement, using some subtle changes in spin, just very, very subtle things to put the opponents off.
That's
never
right.
Quite seemed comfortable so far in this match.
That's something we were talking between games about, what it's going to take, what's going to have to change. I was thinking about change of pace, which is a lot to ask of players at this, out here in this pressure where they're both hitting so hard, but Mississippi College has really been able to do that. Now they've got 2 serves. If they take them both, this is over. It's in the bag.
That was a really tentative Zhang Tong. He was definitely looking for the attack and then decided that he didn't really want it, and then tried to push at the last minute. Never a good idea to go from a looping motion to a pushing motion. It's probably one of the weakest shots you can make in table tennis.
Very difficult to keep under control. At some point you almost think you should just continue even if it's a difficult flip shot.
Yeah. Again, same exact thing.
Smart play from the Texas Wesleyan players, earning that hesitation out of Zhang to tie it up. And this is where you want to be as a viewer. No telling where it's going to go. 9-9. We're in the 4th game. Emil Santos and Jedi Bai hot right now, fighting to take this to a 5th.
I think Juddy Bai is going to have to be as aggressive as possible, but make sure he knows where the ball is going to go before he takes a swing at it.
And this time it was a decisive push. He gets in early for the touch shot, but it was loaded with spin, and he tried to play it too short. Could be looking at a fifth game here.
That's the last thing you want to do at 9-9 is to just give a free point like that.
Go!
And this time the adjustment is made. Similar concept, changes the location on the table and gets it over the net to take the point. We're a deuce in the fourth.
There's a little trade of mental errors from both sides at this point in the match. You don't want to give the point. Even if you push a little bit high, make the opponent beat you.
And it seemed uncomfortable. Juddy Bai was waiting there. The ball hit to his forehand. Maybe he was just a little bit too flat-footed. The shot was not as comfortable as it could have been.
It was a really smart play from Zhang Tong. The spinny, slow forehand didn't go for too much because the ball was out in front of him.
Right, changing the pace, breaking the rhythm of the opponent. Forcing a footwork, forcing some move from Juddy Bai. And Mississippi College takes it 12-10 in Game 4 to shut down Texas Wesleyan's Juddy Bai and Emil Santos. Mississippi College is going to be placing themselves in the men's doubles finals.
And it was really impressive for Mississippi College using the change of pace, change of spin, change of placement, all those things to put the opponent just a little bit off rhythm. And you could tell that Texas Wesleyan didn't have those tools during this match. They were, more focused on the shot quality, always trying to make a heavy spin. But Mississippi College definitely showing a lot of doubles mastery there.